Welcome to In Dark Places. Don't leave home without it. I'm recording this on October 10th, and today at work I had a conversation with a kind of interesting little fellow. He just came up to me out of the blue and started talking about everything that's wrong in the world today. And he started talking about conspiracies and the Nephilim and fallen angels and aliens and reptilians and deep underground military bases and just all kinds of cool stuff. He was a cool guy. So as he was talking, I was like kind of finishing his sentences for him. He got a kick out of knowing that I was a believer and that we were on the same page and all that good stuff, and it was fun. He seemed like he was in disbelief that I understood what he was talking about. I talked to him for like a good 10 minutes. And then after we finally stopped talking, I walked back into my little station in the meat department, and it immediately dawned on me that I didn't tell him about the podcast. And he seemed like the kind of person that would listen. The thing is that, like, normally when people come into the store where I work at, it's like always the same 20 people. You see the same guys shopping in there every day, and they come right back the next day, and it's always the same people. But this guy, I've never seen him before in my life. So chances are I'll probably never see him again. I didn't ask what his name was. But if I ever do see him again, I want to invite him to come on the show, because he's got some useful information. Yeah, so I'm on a quest. I want to find this guy. Until I do, here is the Nicolas Cage Meltdown of the Week.
There is no substitute for the 6 inches of muzzle energy of the .357 Magnum, and of course, it will never jam. Why'd you do that?
What did you say?
Well, now you're gonna have to buy it. It's a used gun. How can I sell a used gun?
A used gun. That's a good one.
We've got an action-packed show for you this week, and here to tell you all about it is my friend Mr. Haunted.
I found some new cryptids that I never heard of before, and this one's called the cactus cat. The cactus cat is a creature and fearsome critter that has been reported in the American Southwest. It's described as a bobcat-like animal with thorn-like fur, sharp bones protruding from its front legs, and a branched tail. The cactus cat has been sighted in the southwestern desert in states such as California, Nevada, New Mexico, and a few sightings in Colorado. Cowboys and pioneers of the 19th century made up tales that these strange beasts come out at night, they slash open cacti, exposing the sap. On later nights, the creature was said to drink the fermented juice. This caused the cats to enter an intoxicated state, stumbling around and attacking travelers. Just what we need is a bunch of drunken cactus cats running around the desert all willy-nilly. Attacks by this strange varmint, though considered rare, did happen from time to time, with many frontiersmen waking up to find welts on their body from the cat's barbed tail. Despite these attacks, the cactus cat was not considered an aggressive creature, except towards cacti. The creature was also known to have a unique and haunting wail that could be heard at night through the darkened desert, along with the dry sound of its bones rubbing together. Ew. So here's a possible explanation for the cactus cat. The story of the cactus cat is probably fueled by numerous cases of misidentification, most likely being a bobcat, mountain lion, or porcupine. The cat's wail may also have been that of a puma. It is also likely that the affable cactus cat was never believed to exist, and like most fearsome critters, was a product of a few bored woodsmen on a warm desert night. Or they're real! They ruin everything. That's the story of the cactus cat.
The Moon-Eyed People. The Moon-Eyed People are a group of nocturnal humanoids with bright white skin, blonde or white hair, large pale blue eyes, and short statures. They are simple-minded, though they can accomplish much in large gatherings. The Moon-Eyed People's petite bodies are covered in thick hair, and males don unruly beards. They dwell in caves during the day, as their skin and sight is sensitive to bright light. Exposure to sunlight or the glow of a full moon may cause them great pain, blindness, and disorientation. If out in the sun for too long, they may even die. Though unable to traverse the land during the day, their night vision is unparalleled, even by beasts. Their eyes, round and unnervingly large, reflect any hint of light in the darkness, inspiring their name. The Moon-Eyed People once openly lived in the mountains until they were expelled by other humanoids, hated by others. The Moon-Eyed People made new homes in underground caverns and hid. Others, however, were not satisfied by their relocation. The Moon-Eyed People's weaknesses were exploited. Just outside of their hovels, a relentless war set against them, causing their species to be nearly wiped out. Remnants of their kind still remain, finding solace in the dark, hidden, and cramped locations. The first of many humanoid species to live in the area, before they were forced into hiding, they built walls, mounds, and forts from stone, shielding them from the sun and connecting to underground tunnels, which offered protection from danger and vantage points. They also built sturdy temples adorned with stone snakes, precious stones representing the serpent's eyes, littering their ruins. Functional pottery, crude above and below ground dwellings, and a variety of sculptures of people and animals may be found. The Moon-Eyed People sleep during the day, though guards stand near entrances and escape tunnels to defend against intruders or warn of advancing adversaries. When hunting parties leave the underground dwellings, sentries are relieved and allowed to rest for the night. The humanoids share large community rooms, having no concept of privacy in their culture. Youth are raised by all Moon-Eyed People, who in turn see all older members as mothers, fathers, and those of close age as brothers and sisters. Responsibilities are cycled between all members of the group, pregnant, ill, or disabled individuals, even occasionally tasked with strenuous activities. Food, garments, and baubles are shared among the community, as individual possessions are not recognized. Leaders of the people manage work, supplies, and the dwelling's development, as well as taking part in day-to-day duties and heading religious ceremonies. Children are not exempt from work, bringing stone to workers, helping forage during the night, and cultivating fungus within the caverns, in addition to watching over children younger than themselves and cooking. With so many tasks to complete, the Moon-Eyed People have little time at night to dabble with hobbies or extracurricular activities. The Moon-Eyed People eat a variety of plants and animals, including all that can be found in caves or dark, shaded locations. However, they abstain from eating snakes or their eggs. Cavern colonies grow fungi and breed fish in freshwater lakes, and harvest edibles from bushes and gardens during the night. Fruits, herbs, eggs, insects, and small produce are gathered in woven baskets, while game is killed with sharpened rocks, spears, crude axes or bare, strong hands. Wild game, fish, fowl, and eggs are collected. Extra provisions smoked, salted, or dried for storage. In harsh winters or times of starvation, the moon-eyed people may elect to eat the weakest, least productive of their own in order to ensure the survival of the group. Yet this rarely happens, as bounty from all seasons is meticulously stored in case of such emergencies. Though they are not an inventive people, they use picks, hammers, and simple saws to construct objects, create religious totems, and expand their underground homes. When warring with others, they may protect their homes by capturing water panthers and releasing them in nearby water sources. However, this is not a common practice.
This creature is called the dingo neck. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, European explorers ventured into the jungles of West Africa and found dozens of undiscovered species like the bongo and the okapi. Along with confirmed species, they also brought back tales of bizarre beasts that they learned of only through African legends or brief glimpses along the shores of steamy jungle rivers. There are dozens such creatures, but the dingo neck takes the prize as the weirdest of them all. Called the jungle walrus, big game hunter Edgar Beecher Bronson described dingo neck as 14 or 15 feet long, the head as big as a lioness but shaped and marked like a leopard, 2 long white fangs sticking down straight out of its upper jaw, a broad back as a hippo, scaled like an armadillo, but colored and marked like a leopard, and a broad fin tail. Egads! Gadzooks! But he was a hideous old haunter of a nightmare, was that beast fish. Blast that blighter's fangs, but they looked long enough to go clean through a man. A shot with a .303 caliber rifle only angered it. It is said to be a carnivore that can choose to hunt or devour nearly whatever it wants, except for elephants. This is because of it having tusks that are over 1 meter long and being so large, ferocious, and aggressive that even large bull hippos fall prey to it. How it would presumable do this is by ambushing hippos, by sneaking up on them, sinking its meter-long tusks into the thick skin of the hippo, as if it were just jelly. Oh, that sounds terrifying. That's the dingo neck from the jungles of West Africa.
One of Britain's most common phantoms is a huge black dog with fiery red eyes that manifests suddenly and silently, sometimes friendly and sometimes malevolent. Where does it come from? Why does it appear so often and act so differently at different times? In the early hours of a winter morning in 1972 at a secluded farmhouse on the southern edge of Dartmoor, a farmer and his wife were woken by strange scratching noises outside their bedroom door. The farmer decided to investigate. He climbed from his bed and, brandishing an iron poker, looked out into the gloom of the unlit quarter. At first he could see little that was out of the ordinary. As he walked along the passage toward the top of the stairwell, then he suddenly could see a large shadow at the top of the stairs. For some reason he assumed it was a dog and was about to turf it out of the house when it suddenly moved toward him, its eyes glowing a fiery red. He was so shocked he didn't really know why, so he just struck out at it. As he struck at the shadowy creature in front of him, a brilliant burst of light flashed, followed by a crash of breaking glass. and the mysterious dog vanished altogether. After a few moments, the farmer's wife joined him, and together they searched the rest of the house. They discovered 3 things. There had been a complete electrical failure in the house. Every window was broken, and the outside yard was covered with broken roofing tiles. The farmer and his wife spent a somewhat sleepless night. Further investigation the following day revealed that the roof of the house had been severely damaged, and so had the roofs of many of the barns and outhouses. So what was it that caused such devastation to an isolated Devon farmhouse? From the farmer's account of the facts, it would seem that the explanation lay in the actions of a phantom black dog. There is hardly a county in Britain that has not had a black dog sighting. Indeed, encounters with black dogs are far from a rare occurrence in many areas. In East Anglia, the sightings have been so regular that the phantom dog is known as Black Shuck there. In Lancashire, it is called the Trash or the Striker. Perhaps this consistency in reported sightings is the most intriguing aspect of the whole black dog enigma. The dog is almost always of larger size than average, with a shaggy coat and red eyes, often glowing like hot coals. It generally appears and disappears silently, and the encounter with it is usually very short. Most reports of the black dog agree as to what the phantom looks like, but the behavior of the creature varies so much from occasion to occasion that the significance of an encounter is difficult to determine. We have seen the dog as threatening and destructive. In many cases, however, it has been recorded as playing a guardian role, protecting lonely or lost travelers. Such was the experience of a workman traveling from Taunton in Somerset one misty night. Having lost his way, he was suddenly joined by a large black dog that had mysteriously appeared a few yards in front of him. The workman decided that the dog would make as good a guide as any, and he followed the animal. It always remained in full view a few paces ahead of him. After they had covered some distance, the dog disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving the man standing alone. Only when he had recovered from the shock of the dog's vanishing trick did he realize that he was only some 20 yards from his home. The black dog had brought him safely through the mist. A similar experience was reported in the 1930s by a woman who had walked home from Scranthorpe to Crosby, and then in Lincolnshire. Suddenly she found herself accompanied by a black dog trotting along beside her. At first the woman was a little frightened because she had neither heard nor seen the dog approach, but after a while she was pleased to have its company, especially when she saw a group of laborers coming along the road toward her. As they passed her by, they told her it was only because she had the dog with her that they had not had a bit of fun with her. No sooner were the laborers out of sight than the dog disappeared. Like the black dog of Dartmoor, phantom dogs often behave malevolently. One such encounter took place in Suffolk on a Sunday in 1577. During a morning service at Blithburgh Church, a black dog suddenly appeared in the aisle. It attacked and killed 3 people and, in some extraordinary way, severely burned another. Having wrought its havoc upon the congregation, it then left, leaving burn marks about the door by which it made its exit. Burn marks that can still be seen today. On August 4th, 1577, the dog reappeared at Bungay, some 10 miles away, again among a congregation, at a morning service. Once more, the dog attacked the churchgoers at random. The earliest record of a black dog sighting comes from France in an account by Burton in the Annals Pharaorum Regum, written in 856 AD. The incident occurred during a service in a small village church. About halfway through the service, the church was suddenly cast into darkness, and all attention was drawn toward a large black dog that had mysteriously appeared. With its eyes burning fiercely, the animal ran to and fro around the altar as though looking for someone. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it disappeared without a trace. The black dog must have crossed the channel permanently, because the overwhelming majority of recorded encounters has been in Britain. This has led to general acceptance that the phantom black dogs are peculiar to the British Isles. This tall, shaggy black creature with blazing red eyes has been written about for centuries up to the present, yet nobody has been able to establish its significance.
This next fearsome creature we're going to hear about is simply known as the vampire beast, or locals call it the beast of Bladenborough, or a vampire cat. And it's a large monster identified with vampiric qualities that made several livestock and pet killings in Bladenborough, North Carolina in December of 1954. It lasted for 10 days. In 2007, the beast returned, but in other regions, such as Bolivar, Greensboro, and Lexington. In the 1950s, the killings first happened on December 29, 1954, when a farmer reported a large cat-like beast that attacked one of his dogs and dragged it to an underbrush. More killings happened on New Year's Day, 1955, where 2 dogs were found dead. All of their blood was drained out. The next day, 2 more dogs were attacked by the mystery predator. On January 6, 1954, a 21-year-old mom named Mrs. C.E. Kinlaw walked outside one morning at 7:30 a.m. and saw the beast stalking towards her. She screamed and ran inside the house. Her husband ran outside with a shotgun and saw the beast left cat-like paw prints. A farmer also reported a mystery creature killed 3 of his hogs, some of his cows, and 1 of his goats. The goat's head was fat and fritter. I don't know what that means, but let me reiterate. The goat's head was fat and fritter. That'll be the name of the episode. People also heard weird noises that sounded cat-like, and some that sounded like a baby crying and a woman screaming. Locals reported seeing a creature that was part bear and part panther. It was 3 to 4 feet long, 20 inches high, weighing 150 pounds. It has brownish and with tabby and bushy-like fur. The beast also had runty-looking ears and a long tail and a cat-like face. Why are they ear-shaming him? Runty-looking ears. These were the only descriptions of the vampire beast. The town's police chief, Ray Flores, organized a hunt for the creature, but came up empty-handed. When the mayor, W.G. Fussell, told the newspapers about the creature, the beast got national publicity and hunters all the way from Tennessee. Newspapers from Arizona to New York made coverage of the hunt for the beast. Meanwhile, the town was in chaos. Children were not allowed out at night. Men stormed the forest with guns trying to find the creature. After a large bobcat was killed by hunters, Forrest and Fussell ended the search. After that, things began to settle down. But in 2007, the beast returned to North Carolina, bringing more surprises and fear with it. In Lexington, 60 goats were found with their blood drained and their heads crushed. 30 miles away in Greensboro, another farmer lost his goats in the same way. In Bolivia, a man named Bill Robinson lost his pit bull to the creature. He buried it, but the next day, it was in the same location where it was killed. 4 days later, another resident, Leon Williams, found his pit bull dead. It was covered in blood and it was missing a few body parts. There was a sign of a struggle. Duh, which is strange for a pit bull. Other places lost a total amount of 10 dogs in just 2 weeks. More tracks were found. These ones were measured 4.5 inches in diameter. Now, I'm going to the comments after this description, and someone described, his name is Waxhaw Don, reported on May 4th, 2019. He says, okay, now a bit freaked out after seeing this, but I am a shower rider, don't know what that is, and was driving last night at 3 a.m., saw something I had never seen next to 12 Mile Creek in Waxhaw. My headlights came into contact with an animal that looked like a Great Dane body with a cat-like tail, but its head was huge, kind of like an English bull, but bigger, with a huge, strong neck. It had tabby colors with what looked like hash marks all over its tail. It moved cat-like, and it pounced on something. My guess, mouse. This was no dog or cat. I saw no teeth or eyes, even though it looked at me with headlights. Think it had them just, the ears and eyes were very small and way back like a cougar, but smaller. Listen, I was a Boy Scout and an officer. Unless this is some mutation, I saw something that I can't explain, and it's longer than a Great Dane, fairly lean and muscular, tight hair, not long, maybe due to the warmer weather. I can't explain this. Anyway, that's somebody's description of some weird creature, and that's the vampire beast of North Carolina.
Have you ever heard the legend of the Honey Island swamp monster? Oh, I'm sorry. For decades now, this mysterious monster has been making news all across Louisiana. You won't believe the mystery that surrounds this area. The Honey Island swamp monster has been rumored to exist for decades, although the first report appears to have been issued in 1963. In that year, Harland Ford, an air traffic controller, reportedly saw the creature while he was taking wildlife photography. A photo of the monster was supposedly found on a roll of his Super 8 film. The monster has been described as being 7 feet tall, with gray hair and yellow or red eyes. And it has a picture, I guess. This is supposed to be what he found. So I'll attach that into the notes and stuff. Apparently he also carried a very strong stench, some even describing it as the stench of death. Ford continued to hunt for the creature throughout the 60s and 70s, and the swamp monster gained national fame when he claimed to discover footprints in the area with his friend Billy Mills. In truth, though, the legend of the swamp monster began hundreds of years before, as the Native Americans in the area named a swamp creature Letichi, describing him as a flesh-eating, water-dwelling, and humanoid character. Other swamp legends continue to swirl around the swamp creature, including one about a train wreck that occurred outside of Pearl River in the 20th century. All the way back then. In this story, a train filled with circus animals took a spill outside of the Honey Island swamp, causing numerous tropical beasts to escape into the cypress trees. A troop of chimpanzees were said to survive and somehow breed with the surrounding swamp creatures to form the swamp monster. Since coming into national conscience in the 70s, the swamp monster has been all over pop culture. Images of the swamp monster have appeared in numerous comic books and has also appeared in TV shows, films, and literature, like the novel It by Stephen King and the 1982 film Swamp Thing, a DC comic character. Of course, the existence of the swamp monster is not avowed by everyone. Most notably, Paul Wagner, who runs nature tours in the area, denies ever witnessing such a monster. But that hasn't stopped numerous curious and intrepid visitors from exploring the Honey Island swamp to discover what they find there. If you haven't scheduled your adventure in this gorgeous swamp, maybe you should. Okay.
This next story is dedicated to little fish. This story is about the dueo. This cryptid, also known as the Maryland wolfman, is reported to be a biped with features similar to a wolf, but the stance and stature of a human. The sightings of dueo are primarily reported in West Middletown, Maryland, but sightings have also been reported in the Wolfsville, Maryland region. Wonder where that town got its name from? The dueo was a wolf-like creature that stood upright and used its forelegs like arms. It was covered in dark fur and had a long bushy tail. It was said to be 6 feet tall. According to legend, the dueo is the mortal enemy of the snallygaster. They reportedly have had vicious encounters dating back to early settlement of the Middletown Valley. The origin of the dueo is thought to have come from the Pennsylvania Dutch. Stories circulated of a wolf-like creature similar to the dueo known as the Hexenwolf. Sounds terrifying. The legend of the Hexenwolf is told in German folklore. Now here are some sightings. The first mention of the dueo comes from a sighting in 1944 in West Middleton, Frederick County, Maryland. Witnesses heard it make frightful screams and alleged footprints were left behind. In 1965, a man under the alias of John Becker described his encounter with the dueo to local papers. He was the first to give a detailed description of the creature. Becker went to investigate his yard after hearing a strange noise. The dueo allegedly came towards him, stood on its hind legs, and attacked him. He then fought the creature until it ran into the woods. Becker described it as big as a bear, had long black hair, a bushy tail, and growled like a wolf or dog. After this encounter, more stories followed in local newspapers. In the summer of 1966, pick up sticks, the dueo was sighted by a man only referred to as Jim A. on the outskirts of Gabriel State Park. He encountered it while heading towards a campsite. When he approached it, it made a horrid scream and backed away from him. He described it as a dark brown, shaggy, two-legged animal the size of a deer. It had an odd walk with its legs stuck out the side of its body, making its movements almost spider-like. That's terrifying. In the fall of 1976, the dueo was sighted by two men that were driving on Route 77 in Frederick County. They saw a large creature run across the road in front of their car. Like the previous two accounts, they described it as a large, wolf-like creature with dark fur. However, they also said it had striped barring on the lower half of its body. In 1978, two park rangers encountered a large, hairy creature running on two legs near Cunningham Falls. And that is the story of the dueo, also known as the Maryland Wolfman.
What about the mud mermaids? Indiana is without an oceanic coastline, making it quite a stretch that Hoosiers would see a mermaid. The beautiful, or hideous depending on the teller of the tale, half human, half fish, cryptids of the sea. But in 1894, 2 Ohio newspapers reported sightings of the creature on the Ohio River near Vevey, Indiana. And we have one of those articles right here. On the sandbar of the Ohio River near Vevey, Indiana, reside 2 nondescript creatures, horrible in appearance and habit. They are amphibious in nature and resemble in appearance huge lizards with human features. When partly submerged in the yellow waters of the Ohio, they are strangely like human beings. Of what species of animal they are, no one knows, for it is impossible to get near enough to them to judge correctly. The sandbar in question, at the low tide, is covered with huge logs and stumps of trees, known in the river vernacular as snags. They have been deposited by the government, snag boats engaged in keeping the channel clean. When the water is high enough to cover these snags, the creatures make their home among them. When the water recedes, they disappear into some unknown lair and wait for a rise. From indications, they appear to be carnivorous. Among the snags are to be found wagon loads of mussel shells, fish bones, and other debris of animals. When the river goes down, these shells and other articles disappear, only to be succeeded by a fresh lot. This is evidence to those who have watched the coming and going of strange things that live upon such food. It has been about 4 years since they were first noticed about Vevey. The fisherman who saw the strange heads protruding from the stream had never heard of a mermaid, and his description was such as to canoe the belief in the minds of the better educated that, after all, the old myth may be true in some degree. Some days since, Captain J.M. Osler of Covington, Kentucky, who was in charge of a traveling art exhibition, came to this place to make arrangements for an entertainment. He heard of the strange mermaids and paid their haunts several visits in the hope of being able to get a glimpse of them. In this, he was successful, going so far as to get a pencil sketch of the male amphibian. Seated on the bank, he watched it swimming within 20 feet of the spot where he observed its movements. From notes taken on the ground, the description, as furnished by Mr. Osler, states that the beast is about 5 feet in length and should weigh about 130 pounds. Its general color is yellowish. The body between the forelegs resembles that of a human being. Back of the hind legs, it tapers to a point. This point in no way resembles a tail. The legs, 4 in number, resemble the arms and legs of the human. The forelegs are shorter than the hind pair and are used in the same manner as arms. The extremities resemble hands and are webbed and furnished with sharp claws. On the back and 1/3 of the way around the body appears a mass of straggling, coarse hair. The skin below the forelegs is thick and resembles elephant hide. On the arms and about the face and neck, it is of a finer texture and brighter yellow color than the rest of the body. The head of the nondescript beast is the most remarkable part of its makeup. It is devoid of hair and is strangely like that of a human being. Its ears are sharp-pointed and stand up like those of a dog. There is no intelligence in the face, which in contour is that like an idiot. Mr. Ozar declares that it resembles, to a great extent, the freak known as Zip, or the What Is It, which was exhibited by P.T. Barnum. In swimming, it seems to move without an effort and does not cause much commotion in the water. Only its head and part of its slightly arched back are shown while swimming. When frightened, instead of diving like a duck or making a quick flop, the strange beast sinks from view like a stone. It is exceedingly timid in nature, fleeing at the first approach of a human being.
This next cryptid is going out to our friend UFO Fred, and you can find UFO Fred on Facebook as a page called UFO Fred. So go check him out. He's always sharing our pages and episodes. So this one's called the Snallygaster. The Snallygaster is a mythical dragon-like beast said to inhabit the hills surrounding Washington and Frederick counties, Maryland. The area was settled by German immigrants beginning in the 1730s. Early accounts describe the community being terrorized by a monster called a Schnellergeist, meaning quick spirit in German. The earliest incarnations mixed the half-bird features of a siren with the nightmarish features of demons and ghouls. The Snallygaster was described as a half-reptile, half-bird with a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth, occasionally with octopus-like tentacles. It swoops silently from the sky to pick up and carry off its victims. The earliest stories claim that this monster sucked the blood out of its victims. 7-pointed stars, which reputedly kept the Snallygaster at bay, can still be seen painted on local barns. It has been suggested the legend was resurrected in the 19th century to frighten freed slaves. Newspaper accounts throughout February and March 1909 describe encounters between local residents and a beast with enormous wings, a long pointed bill, claws like steel hooks, and an eye in the center of its forehead. It was described as making screeches like a locomotive whistle. A great deal of publicity surrounded this string of appearances, with the Smithsonian Institution offering a reward for its hide. U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt reportedly considered postponing an African safari to personally hunt the beast. In 2008, author Patrick Boynton published a book about the history of the Snallygaster entitled Snallygaster, The Lost Legend of Frederick County. The Snallygaster has one widely known enemy called the Duayo. The Duayo is reported to be a mammalian biped with features similar to a wolf, but the stance and stature of a human. Sounds like a dog man, maybe. The sightings of Duayo are primarily reported in West Middletown, Maryland, but sightings have also been reported in the Wolfsville, Maryland region. The Duayo and the Snallygaster have reportedly had vicious encounters dating back to early settlement of the Middletown Valley. And in 2021, Sarah Cooper, a cryptozoologist, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here, in Maryland, opened the American Snallygaster Museum in Libertytown, Maryland. I would like to go to the Snallygaster Museum. One of the comments underneath this says, my cousin told stories of the Snallygaster and said it looked like a possum and ate corn and inhabits cornfields. So when I have seen this article, I realized that my childhood was a lie. Well, anyways, whoever wrote this little comment is the reason for me. There's a song that's been going around the internet, and it's driving me crazy because I can't get it out of my head. And this guy mentioned the snallygaster ate corn. So I'm going to play a few seconds of this clip so it gets in your head too, so I'm not alone. Enjoy. Now this song you're about to hear came from an interview. This man was interviewing people that looked like they were at a picnic or something, and this little boy had a ear of corn, and apparently this corn, it was like the most important thing in his life, and I don't think the interviewer knew what he had, the gold he had from this interview, but later he did and created a song around the interview, and here goes.
For me, I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn. A big golden knob. It has the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. Wanna try that, but I don't have anything cheap. Wanna buy a thing about corn is techniques. The corn break can restore your energy. You really appreciate the whole ball when you love something. If you anyone that's fun, if you come to me, I can tell you all about it. And what's around the bacon, I will do all good, no big and long. Look at this, see the one with the knob. Spread that around. For you and toast the good degrees. Rattle, spread out the good, safe. But the suck corn is disgusting. Cook anything in. It's cold. A big golden knob. It has the juice.
All right, that corn song will probably be in your ears and head for the next week. You're welcome. And let's go back. We're talking about the snallygaster. Thank you.
Have you seen The Oklahoma Octopus? By Rick Corey. Thanks, Rick. It's not quite Nessie or Bigfoot, but the famed, elusive Oklahoma freshwater octopus is out there. Well, not really. But there are a bunch of folks who believe it might be. We have heard the stories for years, but decided this week to go and take a deeper look into the legend. The best place to start seemed to be with the guys who knew the most. The folks at the Oklahoma Aquarium. I met John Money, the Oklahoma Aquarium curator, Monday morning to see if he had heard the stories. Every now and then I get a call and someone will say they had a fish right at the edge of the boat that looked like a half fish, half octopus. That sounds odd, but hang on. John has heard it may be a bigger monster. I've heard it's the size of a horse and pulling boats over and taking swimmers to the bottom. While John doesn't believe that, he does think there is something out there that confuses people. It's a salamander. It's got these external gills when it's a juvenile, and they look half fish, kind of frog-like in the face, and they have these ring of gills around the head. And the fisherman thought it was tentacles. John's one of those guys. We don't have a picture of the alleged animal, nor have I seen one despite over 900 dives in Lake Tenkiller. But that doesn't mean they aren't down there, lurking, waiting for the next tasty swimmer.
This cryptid is called the Fiskerton Phantom, and it's an alien big cat-like creature sighted in Fiskerton, Lincolnshire in the United Kingdom. The Fiskerton Phantom is 4 feet tall and jet black. It has been reported to be either bear-like or panther-like in appearance. It is carnivorous and feeds on birds. So here's an important sighting here. The Fiskerton Phantom was reported on August 27, 1997 by 4 girls between the ages of 9 and 14 who were staying at a caravan park next to the pub at Short Ferry, a small hamlet next to Fiskerton. They described seeing a 4-foot-tall, jet-black, bear-like creature eating a pheasant. The girls, scared, fled immediately to seek help in the pub. When they returned, large paw prints were reported. A motorist reported the beast again that evening, near where the girls had seen it. There were several more reports in the area during 1997. The Fiskerton Phantom is also makes an appearance in popular culture. I don't know this program, but the Secret Saturdays character, Fiskerton Saturday, is based on the Fiskerton Phantom. Say that 3 times fast, fellas. The Fiskerton Phantom. The alien cat of the United Kingdom.
The Tokoloshi. At some point in your life, you've been envious of someone's success. You've also felt jealousy. These feelings, although uncomfortable to some, can lead to insane amounts of horrible action by others. In fact, there's an entire field of law devoted to this when men murder their spouses in a fit of jealous rage. They call it the demon of jealousy. Others call it the green demon. In Africa, this entity comes in the form of a zombie goblin that will kill you while you sleep. Its name is the Tokoloshi. I guess I said it wrong because it says pronounced Tokolosh. I like Tokoloshi better. Although many African tribes call the Tokolosh, if you insist, by a slightly altered name, the origins can be traced back to the Joshi people of South Africa. Summoning the Tokolosh is interesting. It's not just a seance, it's not just a voodoo spell, it's a little of everything. Upon locating the dead body you wish to get possessed, you must pierce its eye with a hot iron rod. You then sprinkle a special powder and shrink its body. Once the Tokolosh is on its way, it demands a soul as a form of payment. And the next year, a dear loved one will pass away to pay the price of your jealousy. But who is worth that price? The soul of your mother, grandmother, son? Only the Tokolosh gets to pick who it takes with him. This evil spirit becomes invisible by drinking water and eating a pebble. Sounds appetizing. It likes to scare children, but its creepiness extends far beyond that. They also cause illness and death to the victim. Some say only children can see it, which is why killing adults is easier. If ever spotted, never draw attention to it. The creature is mischievous, but only malevolent when controlled by an evil sorcerer or jealous foe. This weird-looking zombie creature is best described as a brown, hairy dwarf. It speaks with a lisp. It often appears naked, but sometimes wears a cloak. If you're trying to trap a Tokolosh, hire a witch doctor who can sprinkle mystical powder created from the corpse of an already deceased Tokolosh. He sprinkles this powder at the entrance of the farm, where the Tokolosh steals his preferred cow's milk. Upon entering, the Tokolosh becomes paralyzed and trapped by the witch doctor. Some people claim night terrors are the first sign that the Tokolosh is after you. Others say it's the dreams you have. The interesting fact is the dreams are often good. In fact, they're so good, it feels like your luck is changing. You sleep like a baby with these great dreams. You'll never see the creature sneaking into your room, climbing onto your bed, and stealing your life away. Back in the olden days, tribes and families needed a place to stay warm. Without modern day marvels like central heating, they used what nature gave them: fire! The families build a great bonfire inside their rendezvous, only to have each member of the family die of carbon monoxide poisoning. This is how the legend began. But how did they solve the problem? Since the tokolosh is small, climbing a high bed is not easy for it to do. So they began putting bricks under each leg to lift the bed in hopes of having the demons spare their lives. To their surprise, it worked. The tokolosh cannot climb and is too small to jump. Other people call upon a spiritual healer to get rid of the evil entity. The scientific explanation at the time is that carbon monoxide gas is denser than oxygen, which means it sinks to the bottom. If your bed is higher than the gas, you will not breathe it. Although we now know this isn't true, it begs the question, is the tokolosh real? But what about the other soul the tokolosh needs as payment? So it seems, just like all the other legends and folklore, this one is rooted in some facts and has plenty of superstition around it. Today, the tokolosh is a big part of South African culture. They are making headlines throughout the country regularly. The townspeople still believe that the tokolosh is out there, summoned by someone envious of their success. Sellers of mutai, traditional medicine, who have small shops in South Africa, often sell products to protect against this supernatural being. These products include a concoction made from tokolosh fat. You smear it on your skin as a repellent. Although the tokolosh might be a legend made up to explain the sudden death of someone who's died of carbon monoxide poisoning in their sleep, the demon of jealousy is as real as the sun is bright. The harmful actions people take towards someone they despise can be unforgiving, but is jealousy and hatred enough to summon a zombie dwarf monster to kill you? The people of South Africa seem to think so.
This little fella's called the manticore. Originally documented in Persia, the feared man-eating manticore or manticora has said to have been sighted in places as varied as the jungles of Brazil and Indonesia, and more rarely the forests of North America and Europe. It's described as having the head of a human, the body of a lion, and a tail of poisonous spines similar to porcupine quills. There are some recounts that the spine can be shot like arrows, thus making the manticore a lethal predator. It eats its victims whole, using its triple rows of teeth, and leaves no bones behind. A manticore's face is said to resemble a human's, and travelers through marshes have reportedly mistaken a manticore for a bearded man from a distance. Manticores have a melodious call like the lower notes of a flute blown together with a trumpet. Despite the beauty of the sound, most animals know to flee when they hear it. Humans would do well to follow their lead. And then, in the comments, I like reading the comments because you get some different accounts that you've probably never heard before. This person posted on 10/5/2019. They go under the name XCOM. I hate to say it, but my brother and I encountered what we can only describe as a manticore when we were kids. We both got a very good look at it since it was lit up by my neighbor's motion-activated floodlights, and the thing itself being within 20 feet of our bedroom window. There were some key physical characteristics that differ from the mythological description, but here's a description of what we saw. A lion body about the size of a juvenile mountain lion or large bobcat. The various paranormal forums I've shared this story with seem to think it was itself a juvenile. Tufts instead of spines and stingers at the end of the tail, just like the tuft on a lion's tail. Rudimentary short mane around the head, like a juvenile male lion's. A bestial human-like face, like a man morphed with a baboon, edging closer to human than beast. A red and blue coloration and pattern on its face, similar to a mandrill's. Eyes appeared to look empty, pitch-black pits, no shine, no sparkle, and at least 2 rows of stiletto-like dagger teeth. Its roar seemed to be silent. I want to say that it was infrasonic, below our range of hearing, because as it roared at us, a pulsating pressure began to build around our heads, ever increasing in frequency as well as intensity as the thing kept roaring, which I believe is what caused us to eventually black out and fall unconscious. So, that's the story of the manticore. Very scary.
Did you know Nebraska has one of the most fascinating accounts of a Loch Ness-style lake monster on what is now a state recreation area? I didn't either. According to a 1923 article in the Omaha World Herald newspaper, a man named J.A. Johnson claimed that he and 2 friends had seen a creature dwelling in what was then called Alkali Lake, now called Walgren Lake State Recreation Area, near Hay Springs in northwest Nebraska. He stated that he knew of 40 others who had also seen the animal. The 3 saw the creature while camping near the lake. They saw it 3/4 out of the water and about 20 yards away. They described the creature as being 40 feet long, dull gray-brown in color, with a horn-like object between its eyes and nostrils. They said it looked similar to an alligator, but was bigger and heavier than an alligator. When the creature noticed the men, it emitted a dreadful roar, thrashed its tail about, and then dove under the water. Johnson went on to say that he believed the creature had been responsible for local livestock losses. Some folks believed Johnson had really seen an abnormally large beaver swimming in the lake. It makes sense. Prior to this account, Native Americans spoke of this supposed beast. Additionally, documents at the Nebraska State Historical Society show that the Walgren lake monster is referred to in Mari Sando's book, Old Jewels, and that she also wrote a novelette, Aussie and the Sea Monster, about the legend. Nebraska State Historical Society records also indicate that a Colonel John G. Mayer of Chadron, Nebraska, who wrote for Eastern U.S. newspapers and was credited with writing other folklore, probably initiated the hoax about the lake monster. Fast forward to January of 1962, when an article was done about the Walgren lake monster in Outdoor Nebraska, forerunner of the current Nebraska Land magazine. Ask anyone at the Hay Springs, Sheridan County area, even today, and they'll tell you that they are proud of their Walgren lake monster. In fact, in 1985, a part of the town's centennial celebration promotional items were sold portraying the creature as reported in the 1923 article. The Hay Springs Centennial Committee reconstructed the legendary monster as well. It was made of green flotation material, had glowing eyes, and a hump in the middle. For the record, Game and Parks Fisheries work in the lake produced no evidence of an actual monster. The legendary monster of Nebraska's Walgren Lake still remains one of the most intriguing stories of cryptozoology. And that's going to just about do it for this week's big show. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks as always, Mr. Haunted. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back again next week. God bless you.
dead man's knife. Dead man's knife. Gonna put it on you. The dead man's knife.
I first heard this story when I was in the 9th grade. Me and a couple of my buddies were sitting out in the audience. Our school was having some kind of a weird reading contest or some kind of junk where the kids had to memorize poems. So this one girl got up that was in our class. Her name was Tanya. And she recited this poem, The Jabberwocky, by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome race out grabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jubjub bird, and shun the frimerous bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the manzome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in youfish thought he stood, the jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the roolgy wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went golumphing back. And hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O fragile stay, Kalooch, Kalay. He chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome race out grabe. So after Tanya got done reciting this poem, completely memorized, so it was kind of impressive. She didn't read it or anything like I just did. But after she got done, we just all kind of had a silence fall over the audience. All the kids were just looking at each other and thinking, what did we just listen to? So yeah, that's the poem of the Jabberwocky. We'll see you next week.